MJ7NLK here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at the President Barry II CB radio. We will be undertaking the usual power output test, opening the radio up, looking for and making any modifications, and then retesting afterwards. If you're a frequent viewer of the channel, you may be asking yourself, why does NLK-Media review so many President radios? And what about other brands? Well, the answer is that I like President radios and I'm working my way through the range. Once complete, we will be moving on to CRT and then Midland. We have a couple more to do from the last batch of President radios, and we have 3 more incoming: the Walker, the Taylor and the Lincoln. The President Electronics Group originated in the USA and has been around since 1978. They have a large presence in France, which is where their European head office is located. President makes some excellent quality radios, and the old adage "you get what you pay for" is usually the case. Before we begin, I am not being sponsored by President Electronics. They haven't sent me this unit for review. I purchased it with my own money, all opinions are my own, and no one has editorial influence over the content. I must also point out that modifying a radio is at your own risk. I am doing this so you don't have to. You will have legal obligations in your region with regards to radio transmissions, licensing and power output. You should always ensure that you are not causing a nuisance and, more importantly, not causing any radio interference or distress to others. I purchased this radio from Knights Electricom, who are CB radio specialists in Lincolnshire. They have been providing CB radio equipment to the UK and further afield since the early 1980s. I have always had great service and prompt delivery from Knights, so if you're interested in one of these radios, give Doug and his team a call. So let's take a look at the Barry II. So this is the President Barry II. This should be a really good little radio. There's a lot of features packed into this device. I'll run through a few of those very quickly. It's a 1224 volt multicoloured screen, USB socket on the front which supports 5 volt 2.1 amp, has a PA mode, has Roger beep and a key beep, has the automatic squelch control 3rd generation, noise blanket and compander, which is a switchable filter to improve reception, and both can be enabled at the same time. It has Vox talkback noise gate. It's absolutely packed full of features for a radio at this price, which is £95. So looking around the box, we can see on the front here that we don't have a rotary dial on this radio. I do like rotary dials on radios. I much prefer it to the up-down buttons arrangement which we have here, but that potentially is a personal choice. We have the standard DNC520 microphone with the up-down buttons. And over the front of the radio, automatic squelch control or box, automatic squelch control 3rd generation, 7 colour display, has Vox built in. It also has PA built in as well. This QR code here will take you to this radio's webpage on the President website. As they say here, engineered to be the very best. The President radios are really good quality radios. Looking around the rest of the box, it says it supports all European norms. So for the UK, that will have FM UK mode, which is good to see. Nothing much else to show on the other edges of the box. But on the back, we have the usual stencil of the radio, and we can just quickly run over this now. We have the SO239, for the PL259 socket connector here for the antenna. It has a Vox microphone socket, a PA speaker, an external speaker, and the fixed power cable. I'm hoping that this radio will have the split in the cable, because that really is quite useful. I much prefer the 3-pin sockets to plug into the back of the radios rather than a fixed wire, but that's a reasonable compromise that they seem to be making recently. We'll go over the radio features when we look at the radio itself. This is RoHS2 compliant, and what that means in Europe is that it's a European standard, compliance standard, that manufacturers have to comply with, and if they comply with this standard for manufacturing electronical equipment, then they can use the CE symbol on their products. So I don't know why they don't just put CE on here. I don't see the point in doing that, because to get this, you must comply with that. Anyway, who knows? So that's it. That's the box for the President Barry 2. Let's open it up and see what's inside. So let's get inside here and see what we get. See if we get the usual accessory pack. Okay, it's a single box. Some of the larger radios come in 2 packs. And here we go. So we have the President sticker that we get with all President radios. Word of warning with this: I stuck some of these onto a surface, left them on for a few days, decided I didn't want them there, and I could not get them off. I mean, they were really hard to scrape off. So if you stick it on somewhere, it's going to be staying there. Put that to one side. We have the user manual, which we'll come back to shortly. The radio itself, which is... we'll just get rid of the crinkly wrapping, and we'll come back to that in a moment. And the accessory section. Let me just get the noisy wrappers out the way. So, as I said before, we have the standard microphone that comes with virtually all President radios now. These are really good microphones. I say it in every video. These really are. They work incredibly well. They're 6-pin, and they're a good microphone, but they feel incredibly cheap. They really do. They're very light and quite plasticky, but they work brilliantly. So there's nothing wrong with them. It'd just be nice if it had a metal grill on it or something with a little bit more weight to it. It would feel nicer. So, pretty standard affair within the box. We have the bracket for holding the radio in place, and the little accessory pack that gives you the 2 bolts that hold that to the radio, and also the mic clip. So that's pretty much it for what's inside the box. Let's have a look over the radio. So before we run through the radio itself, let's take a quick look at the Barry 2 manual. So this manual comes in multiple languages. Oh, look, it comes in French. It also comes in Spanish. It comes in English, thankfully, and Polish. So yeah, excellent. These manuals are brilliant. You need to read these. It's packed full of information to operate the radio. Things like to enable the Roger beep, you normally use the up button on the mic or on the front of the device and turn the radio on, and that will enable or disable Roger beep. The down button is used for key beep and mode plus emergency. And turning the radio on usually sets the screen colour. I mean, that's typical for most President radios. Right, let's take a look at the radio itself. So here we go. Front of the radio, we have the automatic squelch control on the left. So in the downward position, automatic squelch control is enabled. If you move it up to the M position, that is basically the squelch off, and then increasing the dial will increase the squelch. We have the USB socket here. You can remove this green tab to reveal that socket. The channel up-down buttons, they are clicky buttons, but I would much have preferred a dial on the front. I don't see any form of... Oh, yes, there is one. There is one. Gotta do it. Wait a moment, please. There we go. So removed the plastic from the screen. We have 4 buttons pretty much on the front. Mode also doubles as the noise blanker selector and the compander. We have a store button, a set button, Vox emergency, switching between the 2 emergency channels, which I believe you can change, and that's probably what store means. So you can store a different channel for emergency. You have your on, off, and volume. It's extremely simple controls on the front of the radio. Moving around the rest of the body of the radio, there's not a great deal to show. We will be opening this up shortly to see what options we have inside. Quick comment on the power cable. I don't see a splitter in here. That's a shame. Let me just open this up. Get rid of that. No, there isn't. But you can. And it's a shame, really, because I do like the 3-pin plugs. You can plug them in and out, and it's just incredibly useful. And I've noticed on some of the radios they've started to put a little adapter here, so you can plug and unplug. Yes, you can undo the fuse, but then you're stuck with this fixed cable. So I imagine this will be a 3-amp fuse. So I'll just check that. In fact, it is a 5-amp. This is a 5-amp 250 volt fuse. So should you need to replace your fuse, it is a 5-amp affair. So that could be quite good for the power output of the radio, because you need 2.1 amp for your USB socket. So if it's got a 5-amp fuse in it, then maybe it's expandable. Heatsink on the back, which is nice. The SO239 socket for a PL259 connector, standard affair. We have the Vox output, or microphone input, sorry. We have the PA speaker output and the external speaker. So pretty simple around the device. What we will do next is, before we power this up and just have a run through, we'll take the top off and have a look and see what's inside. Okay, so to open up the radio, you undo the bottom 4 screws, and then the bottom plate will come off. The speaker is in the bottom, so I expect the circuit board to be here. So taking off the top is not going to give you access to very much. The speaker is detachable on a detachable cable, but we won't remove that unless we need to. And then we'll have a look inside the unit, and I'll hold this up to the camera so you can see what we have inside. I will take some photographs of this as well and put those up as needed. So yeah, nice little looking radio. I can see that we have the modding wire to cut and the jumper to select, so that's great to see. I don't see any other adjusters in here at all for this radio. So what I'm going to do is before we delve into modding, we're going to do a standard power test just to see what the radio is outputting as standard, and then we'll do the mod and see what we get. Okay, so for the power test, we are running a patch cable into this power and SWR meter, and then that is running through into a dummy load. So let's get the radio on. Okay, so we're in FM UK mode, and let's just double check and see what the standard power output is. 3.55 watts is the standard FM power output being measured. We can switch that to AM and see what we get there. 3.6 watts. So that's pretty standard for these types of radios. So AM and FM, about 3.5 watts out of the box is what you're going to get there. So next we're going to perform the mod, which is to cut the wire jump the jumper, and we'll do some tests. Well, in fact, what we'll do is we'll cut the wire and we'll re-power test, and then we'll jump the jumper and power test. Because somebody asked me a question about whether, once you've cut the wire, whether the power output is affected unless you use the jumper. So we'll do that next. So let's cut the wire for the mod. Okay, wire is now cut. I shall show that on camera in a moment. Hopefully you can see that the wire has been cut there. I won't jump the jumper in order to enable the mod, so I can answer the viewer's question. So I'm going to set up now for the power test. So this is the radio with the cable cut. Turn on the power. And let's have a look. Channel 20 AM. Let's just have a look at the power. 3.6 watts. Switch it to FM. 3.6 watts. So the answer to the question is, if you cut the wire and don't move the jumper, then the radio remains, as far as power output is concerned, absolutely bog standard. So let's now jump the jumper. So if you're getting old like me, you will potentially find it a little difficult to get to this little jumper and move it. But if at first you don't succeed, skydiving is not for you. So let's have a go. See if we can do this with fingers. Blimey, I think I did it without pliers. Let me just double check. Excellent. So the jumper has moved from, let me just check. It's moved from the 1-2 position, which is standard, to the 2-3 position, which is modded. I don't know if that's going to show very well, but I will attempt to put that on the screen for you via the photographs taken. So let's put this thing back together and let's do a new power test and see if we get alpha channels in the 120 for this radio when modded. Okay, so after modifying the radio, let's have a look and see what that has done. So turning the radio on, we get the TS symbol, which you normally get when you've modded the radio, and there is a way to switch that to a different mode, which lowers the radio frequencies in certain bands by a predefined amount. But let's have a look at this for the power test. So we're in AM, channel 20, and we have an A that's appeared here. So there'll be an A band of 40, a B band of 40, and a C band of 40 to give us the 120 channels. We'll check for alpha shortly. So this is an AM power test. Let's get the power meter on, and let's see what we're outputting in AM. That's 5.19 watts with the radio modified. So let's have a look and see in FM. Oh, hang on. We need to turn that god-awful beep off. So you turn the radio off. You hold the down button. Turn the radio on. And that will turn off the key beep. That's standard on virtually all of the President radios. And we have to turn on Roger beep. So you hold the up and you turn it on because everybody loves a Roger beep. So in FM, let's continue the power test. 5.19 watts in FM, and we'll switch the mode to FM UK, channel 20, and let's see what power output we get there. I'd expect it to be very similar. 5.13 watts. So that's excellent. So now we'll jump back to FM and let's have a look at the modes here to see if we get alpha. In fact, I can drop down one channel to get 19 alpha. Yes, we do. So in the 19, you've got this little A symbol that appears here. That means that's the alpha channel. And then you've got channel 19. So we should get the same on 15. We get 15 alpha, 15. And the same at 11. 11 alpha and a channel 11. So the modding unlocks alpha channels, unlocks 120 channels, but it appears to be rather annoying that you can't jump between the bands of A, B and C by pushing any of these buttons. You have to effectively scroll up through the channels to jump to B and then jump to C. Would have been nice to have had a button to push to just jump that block of 40 each time. But there we go. So let me get that to channel 40. 40 on B, and just double check. 5.13. So there we go. We increased the power output of the radio by sort of a watt and a half. I don't know whether the actual output that would be coming out of the antenna would be 4 watts or below, but I must remind you that in the UK it is illegal to run any CB radio which has a power output of over 4 watts. So it may be different in your jurisdiction or your country, but that is the rules here within the UK. So modding this radio to unlock those channels and transmitting on it, I'm transmitting into a dummy load, but transmitting that via an antenna and outputting more than 4 watts would be breaking the rules. So the last thing I'm going to show you here is how to change the screen color. It's pretty standard on these President radios that you hold the mode and the emergency button down at the same time, which can be a little difficult to do, and turn the device on. And you'll see it flashing OR. You can use the channel selectors to switch, or you can use the buttons on the microphone to go up through the different color options. So we've got cyan, yellow, which looks more greeny than yellow to me, purple, clear, orange, green. So you can use the up or the down. So I'm going to go back to green, and then you push the PTT button on the radio, on the microphone, to enter your selection and for the radio to remember it. So if I turn that off, turn it back on, we should be green. So there we go. That's how you change the color. Okay, that's it for now. So we're going to jump back for the conclusion. This is a nice little radio with all the features you need at the sub £100 price point. It's definitely worth the money. I would have preferred a rotary dial when changing channels, and it would have been good to have had the F key jump between band blocks in expanded mode. But apart from that, a decent mid-ranged offering from President. So why modify the radio, you may ask, if it's not legal to do so? Well, that depends on your location, but I think of the modification jumper as prepper mode. When the shit hits the fan or the feces hits the rotating oscillator and your mobile phone becomes an expensive door wedge, you will need a simplex communications device. CB radio is a cheap way of achieving this, and in the event of an emergency, the rules allow for prepper mode to be enabled. Understanding how to modify the radio and what impact this will have for you is essential. In reality, the additional channels are of more use than the power increase, as the distance achievable running 4 watts versus 8 watts is negligible. Running a 150 watt burner would make a difference, but you need to have the electricity stored in order to run it. In a doomsday scenario when there is no power, no internet and no cell network, you need to think carefully about power storage and usage. Running a large burner just doesn't make sense. If there is enough interest in this subject, then leave a comment below and I will make a video on it. I hope you found the information in this video helpful. If you did, then please help the channel out by liking and subscribing. This really does help, and ensures that I can continue to provide content. Feel free to buy me a coffee, details in the description below, and if you have any questions or comments, then you know what to do. All I ask is that you keep it respectful. Level 40 Karens and smelly green trolls need not apply. Until next time, stay safe, stay happy, and catch you in the next one.